Welcome, everybody. Welcome to this soulful morning. Let's start a wonderful day by bowing in gratitude, by closing our eyes, by sitting straight, and remembering the divine within and outside. Let's be so grateful for divinity has chosen us to live a life of purpose. For divinity lives in us. For the beautiful mental being that we are. Mental, with the subconscious mind coming to us as a gift from the universe, which has memories of our eons of lives, wherein we can tap our infinite potential in this life as a human being. We human beings owe it to Mother Earth to help her and our earthlings in her ascension. While we go inwards in these beautiful mornings, we are channeling beautiful divine messages from within us without knowing or knowing. We are helping elevate ourselves, and by leading the domino effect by helping others who we meet, who we interact with. Life is indeed divine. Life is indeed a magical blessing. Life is full of beautiful synchronicities that are unfolding because of the shift within us. How easy it is now to live life, waking up to meditation, learning more about our soul level, and then living the day at its fullest, at least whenever we can. Let's be grateful for the divine gifts that we receive, the gift of breath. When we start breathing, when we are born, when we breathe, the doctors say we are alive. The day that we leave this earthly body, we become nishpran, without breath. So breath is a beautiful gift which we don't have to think too much about. And the time that we have to make an effort to breathe, if you have any kind of respiratory problems like asthma or anything, it's because we are scared of living and breathing. Some insecurities are there in us, and that's when the asthma or breathing respiratory problems shape up. But blessed are we to be able to breathe beautifully in this wonderful air that Mother Earth gives us free of cost. How beautifully we've been blessed with this heart. This heart is developed in our mother's womb even before we as human beings start taking shape in her being. This beautiful heart actually is 9 months older than us, because that's when its inception happens. And we never have to remind our heart to beat. And the heart has an attack only when we are holding on to some remorse, some anger from the past. So if there's any anger in us for anybody, let's just detox ourselves from it, because love is expansive. We are expansive. Let's open our hearts and become expansive and recipient of all the love there is for us. How many times we wonder that whether I am loved enough? But how many times do we actually give love unconditionally? Not only to our loved ones, but to people who are not known to us. So let's expand our hearts in this beautiful time of new moon to full moon, which is all about enhancing and manifesting. The day our heart becomes wider and bigger and accepts everyone for who they are and not want to make changes to them, that day we would have arrived. But the controller in us wants things to be in a particular way, which means our heart is restricted. So let's just learn to accept. It's a huge challenge, but all of us in our morning inward journey can learn to be expansive. When it comes to our mind that we're given, our subconscious mind is already given to us as a gift. The conscious mind, the left side of the mind, develops in gradually. So the subconscious mind comes with so much of strength, courage. So may all our fears dissolve and disappear, because we have been gifted from birth with this beautiful mind, subconscious mind, seen or unseen. It is there holding on to so many memories, so much of wisdom. So maybe tap into it and do whatever our heart desires freely, fearlessly. May we all learn to recognize the divinity in us and everybody. That's the reason we do Atma Namaste, that the highest in me bows to the highest in you. Everybody has a soul, everybody has a spirit which is much higher or at an equal. So may we learn to see every human being divine. May we learn to stop differentiating between rich, poor, good looks, this, that, racism, secularism, anything. Maybe just learn to accept people the way they are, who they are, for their own philosophies. We don't know the journey of who the person is, what sexual preference they have, what religion they have brought up in. It doesn't matter. We too have lived with each of them in some life or the other. It's a done. After living these lives, that's when God says, maybe you're whole and complete. But that's also something we've seen God says. Have you heard God says? So let's recognize everybody as whole and complete. Let's be so grateful to our parents who are the reason why we are here today. Because of them, we could choose them as a parents on a soul level, choose the learnings, the atmosphere, the environment, and now maybe accept whatever we have been blessed with. It really doesn't matter if there are challenges, struggles, or there's easy life. Let's remember, if we tend to compare that everybody has a journey, the people who we think are seemingly more better off than us have already struggled before. So maybe their time was then, our time is now. It does not matter. And may we all in the spiritual journey rise above the materialistic journey. May we do things that help our soul evolve. If traveling makes our soul evolve, let's do it. But to amass the materialistic things, none of us were born with this, none of us will die with this. So no matter how many riches we buy, they are going to be here on Mother Earth. So let's assist in the elevation, the ascension, which is every soul's prior intention. May all of us be guided inwards and maybe find our own spirituality, our own divinity, day to day, moment to moment. Such are the prayers, such are the blessings. Thank you, thank you, thank you, universe, for having our backs. Thank you, thank you, thank you, divinities, for helping us manifest what is for our highest good and the highest good of all around us. Thank you, thank you, thank you, all the beings in this realm or the other, in this dimension or the other, in this universe or the other, for helping us evolve. Thanking all the masters, teachers, gurus, mentors who have taught us in the past lives, continuing to teach us in this, and helping us see the better picture, helping us drop all our insecurities on a daily level. So may our soul journey keep advancing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now you can rub your hands, feel the warmth, bless your face, your entire being, and start this beautiful morning with a beautiful smile. And I love Pratima Ji's smile. I see her on screen. So it's wonderful. It's always good to see you every morning. To everybody else, it's all right that you don't have your screens on. Absolutely okay. We choose what we want to choose, and that's the done thing. All right. So this, yes, now the screen is visible to you all. So yesterday we finished here, but I'd like to read this again as we start the morning. Eventually, we all will understand that all the wisdom is within us. And as we remember, practice, and access this wisdom, we will become our own best teacher. Now, isn't this beautiful? So, what happens in these spiritual mornings, these soulful mornings, is that all of us are reading about soul, past lives, experiences. We are developing our trust muscle, even though we know that we always reincarnate, we have had multiple lives. Yet, as we read this, we are kind of tapping into that right side of our brain, which is helping us remember, helping us practice on a daily level by listening to this and manifesting or meditating whatever comes our way. And gradually, we will be able to access into our own wisdom, and we will become our own best teachers. Why? Because our higher self is always talking to us, but we don't hear it all the time. But the minute we tap into this, we will be able to get all the wisdom our higher self has for us. And then we will become our own best teacher, because our higher self will tell us and we will listen. And at this point, we will find peace and joy in the present time. Many of us live in the past or the future. This time we forget. Because the real issue is about how we live our lives right now, being spiritual now, no matter what we have been taught to believe. As we awaken, the spirits will sing their love songs directly to our ears. And imagine how beautiful it would be when all the divine beings that we think are around us, which we know are around us, when they can speak to us and we can listen to them. And that, my dear friends, I've heard from my teachers that they can hear clear directions. And that is how all of us should elevate our energies. Like right now, you talk to your higher self. Your higher self says you listen to. That's what I do. Higher self guides me. I know in the book of Unified, which is the higher self talking to me, which is the dark energies talking to me, and I know I want to listen to it. So, but sometimes we tend not to listen to it. But the day we realize in our own wisdom, fully practice it, access it, and feel the bliss that we feel, that is the day we will be truly awakened. And when we awakened and we're close to enlightened, then everything will become a beautiful journey, because everything will come to us. Then we can all channel wonderfully. We talked about so many clairvoyant people who spirits are coming and they are channeling the message to the loved ones. And how beautiful will the world be when so many of us can do that? It's like a balm on the soul of so many people who've lost their loved ones, or sometimes messages from like blessings. Sitting more or less anonymously in the audience of the Maury Povich show in the late August of 1997, I watched the renowned British healer and medium Rosemary Altea give intimate and specific details to a panel of people who were grief-stricken from the tragic loss of their loved ones. Carol and I had been visiting in New York City, and we had stopped by to say hello to Joni Evans, my literary agent, the day before the taping. Johnny is also Rosemary's agent, and she impulsively invited us to sit in the audience for the show. Rosemary did not know we would like to be there. Like Celia and James Van Prague, Rosemary, the author of The Eagle and the Rose and Proud Spirit, is exceedingly adept at relaying messages from the other side. In order to use her gifts to better the world, she has founded the Rosemary Altea Association of Healers, RA, a non-profit organization based in England. Although I read her books and had her before on television, this was my first chance to visit Rosemary's work in person. There are so few psychics and mediums who are really good and accurate in their work, and that I jumped at the opportunity. Unfortunately, on American television, everything has to be a test. On American television, everything has to be on the test. Rosemary was supposed to provide precise details about the dead ones of people she was meeting for the first time and about whose life she knew nothing. All this on television in front of a live studio audience. Talk about pressure, I thought. She should be meeting with them privately without any of these distractions. Still, Rosemary was okay with the arrangement. I understood that television thrives on capturing people's spontaneous reactions. In my mind, I wished her well despite the obstacles, knowing that this was not a fair scientific evaluation of her abilities. Rosemary overcame all these impediments with amazing accuracy, provided fact after fact to the grieving families. The comfort, hope, and relief she provided were palpable to all. The entire audience shared in the moving and dramatic experience. Unknown to everyone, I already knew two of the people on the stage with Rosemary, Ralph, and Kathy Robinson had attended one of my conferences a year previously, and we had spent considerable time talking about the tragic death of the young son, Ryan, who had been accidentally shot by a friend. Ryan were at an unsupervised teenage party when they found a Russian handgun. They believed that the gun was not loaded because the safety on that particular gun allowed the trigger to be pulled back and clicked. They had pulled the trigger many times with no bullet ever firing, but somehow the safety accidentally was switched off. There was a lone bullet in the chamber, and on a cold October evening, shortly after his 16th birthday, Ryan died of a gunshot wound to his head. Tragic. The Robinsons' world fell apart. They were consumed with grief. I knew the details of Ryan's death and many of the details of his short life. Rosemary, not knowing any of this, turned to them. Bang, she said loudly. He keeps saying bang. She even described the smell surrounding the horrible accident, and she added many more details. Ryan's parents, both of whom were sophisticated people, were visibly moved. I knew the encounter with Rosemary would help them heal even beyond what I could do for them. He's so cheeky, Rosemary said, accurately describing Ryan but temporarily confusing his mother. Cheeky is a term used in Britain to describe healthily impish, mischievous personalities, and Ryan certainly fit the bill. Once explained, his mother heartily nodded her agreement. A few days later, Ralph wrote me a letter. Well, either the production crew was feeding Rosemary information about our loss of Ryan, or she is nothing short of phenomenal. She was so gracious in her relationship with us. She came into the holding room before the show to connect with each of us and tell us how she worked. After the show, she again spent time with our group to make sure everyone felt complete. All in all, it was a very rewarding experience, and we were both very glad that we had participated. Ryan's death and the experience after have brought enormous spiritual growth to the Robinsons, who have been developing projects to help Compassionate Friends, a national organization that provides support to bereaved families. To me, there are no coincidences. The Robinsons have been given profusely to others, and now Rosemary could give something back to them. And I, a kind of common denominator, would witness the whole process. With his letter, Ralph included a poem written by his son. We didn't know he wrote any poetry until we discovered his journals after he was gone. Ryan J. Robinson wrote, "Follow the wind. Follow the wind to other sides that call for you. Can you capture the life that has yet to be lived? That stained soul can be cleaned with time and faith." How beautiful. In another letter, Ralph wrote, "I have learned how important it is to tell people when you love them, because tomorrow is just a concept in our minds." During that same show, Rosemary made a profound comment about listening. She said that what we ask and ask and ask again for messages, for signs, for communication, yet we rarely take the time to listen, and listening can take time. We need to be patient, and we need to be especially careful to listen for the messages of coincidences. It's a natural and normal human longing to want signs now, to want messages right away. However, listening is a skill, and it takes time and to develop such a skill, right? Listening is a skill, na? लोग बोलते हैं हम पहले से बीच में काट के जंप करते हैं. So, but we take time. If we take time कि हाँ मैं बोल रही हूँ, sorry I cut you, हाँ आप बोलो, then we are correcting ourselves and we're living on a path of conscious living. But as you practice being quiet, going within, taking the time to listen and creating the space to listen, then you will hear. What will we hear? Our higher self or the divine beings connecting with us. अगर हम ह्यूमन लाइफ में अपने आसपास वाले लोगों की बात सुनना शुरू करें, with the mind talking to us, we have a monkey mind, ना, it's clattering away. So अगर आप उसको एक बार इग्नोर करके जो हो रहा है उसमें प्रेजेंट रहें, जो बोल रहे हैं उसमें प्रेजेंट रहें, अपने स्मार्टफोन्स को रख दें, तो हम क्या करेंगे? We are developing a muscle to listen, to be present in the now. And then when we start with this practice on a conscious level, on a subconscious level, जब हम meditate करेंगे, that meditation would not have to be guided. तब अपने आप चुप होकर आप सब divine being से सुन सकते हो. What is true meditation? When you connect with your heart, mind, body, and soul. And mind is not feeding you monkey mind. Subconscious mind becomes active and the higher self talks to us and everything is downloaded through us, and then we'll be able to have revelations. And that, my dear friends, is absolutely beautiful. It's something I'd enjoyed in 2021 so much. But because I got off track, I also lost it. That's what spirituality is. It's not a one-way street. You go up, you come down, you go up, you come down. What is important is to come back on the path again and again and again. And you, my dear co-learners, I thank you so much. Because of you, I am committed in the morning. If I was to do it alone, I may have faltered. But because I know I have co-learners waiting, it's beautiful to study together. These books, which I've already read years ago, but reading again with all of you, it's beautiful. And I feel that's the beauty about these books. So thank you so much. Today we commence this gorgeous chapter number 14. It's about reaching beyond ourselves. It's not just 3 words. As the chapter unfolds, you will realize what this is all about. So I will not break the bubble and tell you right away. But let's understand. Meditation and visualization. Now, visualization is extremely important. When we say universe, we should be able to visualize that beautiful galaxy, like maybe the picture behind me and the wallpaper. It's a multiple color array of colors with nice star-like substances just glimmering away. Visualization of the universe will help us. We've not seen it, but we'll be able to see. But visualizing can easily happen. Say you want to develop the muscle to visualize. So try and see the scene by closed eyes कि ऐसा 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 हो रहा है. उससे visualization की muscle बनती है. And visualization की muscle जब बनती है, वो हमें help करती है think करने में और हमें हमारी will power को बढ़ाने में और हमारी journey को बढ़ाने में आगे. And when that happens, healing will occur. You will begin to use your unused mind. What's the unused mind? The subconscious mind, which has all the infinite potential. So when you visualize, when you meditate, when you listen, you have healing. When you have healing, you're using your subconscious mind and you will see, you will understand, and you will grow wise. Then there will be peace, which is the reason I do so much of past life regression. मुझे जाना भी नहीं पड़ता हीलर्स के पास. मैं वसुधा बाजोरिया का YouTube पे जो अपना we had the Sunday Life Reflections में session. I open that on my laptop. No ads come. Anyways, I have a paid YouTube account, premium account, so nothing comes. And I've downloaded it because it's easier. And then I just meditate. I just tell my staff that this 1 hour, nobody will come to my room. And then I see some life and I'm like, wow, how blessed I am. And in that meditation, she guides you and she says, what is the purpose? Then I realized so many revelations happened to me. And then I journal. And I realized, okay, this is what is my learning. And that is the reason your unused mind starts getting used. I'm not saying that all of you do this. I'm sharing what I do as my chosen best practice. Our hearts know the path to happiness and inner space. Spiritual practices such as meditation and prayer remind us of what we already know. When we forget our heart's message and fall into life's ruts and crevices, we feel unfulfilled and unhappy. We get depressed and anxious. We have blurred our perspective, forgotten the bigger picture, and lost the way. And my dear friends, this is so easy. I've gone through this. Despite reaching in that beautiful, blissful state, again, I was sucked back into life's ruts and crevices because I forgot my spiritual practices. And the most important spiritual practice for everybody is gratitude journaling. Lotus gratitude is great, absolutely great. But writing, as I say, gives your God, your intellect, and your pride a nub and a stub every morning and a nudge that, okay, less of me, less of me. The remedy is simple. Take the time to remember your divinity, your spiritual nature. Remember why you are here. Meditation is one way of triggering your memory. Meditation is the art or technique of quieting the mind. Now, when you go into meditation, you won't say, "Achup ho jao, ye sab mat aao. Arey yaar, kya thoughts aa raha hai?" जब हम thoughts आती हैं, just we don't expand them. We keep being with our breath. And when we are with our breath, automatically the mind becomes rested. Otherwise, it's restless. So 7 deep breaths, if possible, box breathing, they will help you in quieting your mind automatically. And it's not full of effort. I would say it's effortless. Breath anyways is effortless. Thoda sa if effort karo, conscious breathing karo. Pranayam is what? कैसे हम अपने प्राणों को कर रहे हैं, right? So it's very beautiful to know that meditation is really therapeutic. It's helpful in just getting more stilled, filtered, and keeping the chatter out of it. In the quiet of the silent mind, the meditator begins to become an observer. Now, observer and visualizer are almost similar. To reach a level of detachment and eventually to become aware of a higher state of consciousness. Now, I'll tell you something, this level of detachment is very important. Some people may call me like your parenting way is very different. तुम बच्चों को कुछ ज़्यादा बोलती नहीं हो and you just let them be and अच्छा नहीं है. I know what they're saying may be right, but I find peace in letting my children be peaceful. I cannot be that nagging mother, do this, do this, do this, do this. And believe you me, they are beautiful souls and they've grown on their own. I can't even take one iota of, the thing that mere bachche. They are bachchas of the universe. They're growing on their own. I have one job to give them love as much as possible. And when I can't give them love, I don't feel guilty. Because I also have my own spiritual side, my own human responsibilities. And when they come more important, it's okay not to be there with children. That's my peace. Otherwise, if I'm on a guilt trip, I will try and burn my energies. Like, I'll be a candle with burning from both sides. And then one time will come and I'll be burnt out. So that's how, and for me, that is also meditation. To let the children or people be who they are. People tell me, when people saw this new series about marriages, yeah, Made in Heaven. Oh, how did you like the series? It's got so many gross things. There was a huge hue and cry about Dharendra and Shabana Admi's peck on the lips, and it was uncalled for. Why? It's so beautiful. Don't elders kiss? Why are we as a society so judgmental? And I have taken time, my dear friends, to come to this position thanks to my children. I've repeated that again and again. They are my such good teachers. They tell me, Mama, how can you be into racism? So when I would say brown, yellow, black, or white, because that's the term we use in lady circle for international people, that, we are brown, they are Asians, they're this, they're this. They're like, why do you do that? We all one. And then I realized, yes, we all one. When I talk about sexual preferences, my children are so comfortable telling me that this friend is that friend is that, because now they know their mom accepts. Initially, I did not, because I was scared of society. So meditation will help all of us become our own best. I'm not saying I'm anywhere close to best or my philosophies are best, but gives me peace and love and joy. That's what I'm grateful for. Because all of this helps me in a level of detachment. I'm not attached to societal ideas. I'm comfortable in my own ideas, in my own skin. Even the children telling me, it leads me on a path, but the path is chosen by me. And this way, we become aware of a higher state of consciousness. By pulling us out of the rut of our everyday awareness, meditation serves as a reminder of what we have been learning about higher, more spiritual values. To meditate regularly is to remember regularly. You're reminded of the bigger picture of what is important to us in our lives and what is not. अपने आप पता चल जाएगा क्या चीजें इंपॉर्टेंट है. अभी a lot of us are wasting our time. I don't know, I'm using the word all of us, but कहीं ना कहीं we are chasing our earthly desires of more fancier living. Whatever standard we've set, maybe going in a higher level. That is a very human thing. We are never content. But actually, when we start meditating, what is not important, this so-called higher level, will start diminishing. Then we will be very content in what we are blessed with. And when we are content in what we are blessed with, abundance will automatically happen, because we will be in a state of acceptance, of gratitude, of living in grace. And when we do that, our bandwidth is so high, we will attract all the abundance effortlessly. That's the magic of meditation. It takes practice and discipline to rid the mind of its 1,000 everyday thoughts. I had to meditate daily for 3 months before I was able to reach a deeper awareness. It is important to be patient and try not to get frustrated as you practice. So again, Brian Weiss says 3 months. I took 5 months of 3-hour morning meditations on my own in the morning from March 15th until actually September 15th. Every day I was waking up at 3 hours and doing meditations. And us samay I began with guided meditations because I had never meditated. I mean, I've been doing Vipassana for years. So either you do Vipassana style or you do something else. It took me 5 months of 3 hours every day morning. I don't know why I was waking up at 3 o'clock. I have no idea. Brahma Muhurat knowledge and all came to me much later. But I was just automatically waking up, and that probably opened my channels to be recipient of the higher knowledge. And it's very easy to go back on the rut. I explained already. So what is important for us is to be patient and try not to, this is very important. So this is just, you don't have to write, but understand. It is important to be patient and try not to get frustrated as you practice. Success at meditation does not happen overnight. It takes really long. And practice is the key. You do not need to sit in the lotus position in order to meditate. Now, this is very important to understand. अगर नीज में दर्द है और आप लोटस पोजीशन में बैठोगे, आप मेडिटेट नहीं कर पाओगे, बॉडी में वो दर्द बार बार नच करता रहेगा. So being comfortable is important, but what I say is back straight करना चाहिए. Because when you straighten your back, चाहे पीछे support लगा लो, you are in the receiving position. The energy chakras are aligned and your energy will rise. So that is what is important. You can meditate while lying down, while sitting in a chair, or even while walking. The goal is to stop thinking, to observe, to detach, to become mindful and aware. And this we've already discussed in the Magical Me when we done for 1 month program, that what is meditation. So you can lie down and meditate. The Nidra Yoga is a very fine example of that. Just that we start flowing with the breath work and with the beautiful time. Whether meditating or visualizing or under hypnosis, you never give up control to someone else. And this is also in life. You never give control and power to anybody else. No forces take over your mind or body. You do not enter a time machine. You're merely concentrating very deeply, and there is no danger whatsoever. In past life regression, so many people say, "Arey, hum us life mein hi reh jayenge to." You're only seeing that life. उसमें कैसे रह जाओगे? How can you go back 1,000 years and start living like a monk? I'm here, no, sitting in this body. So many lives I've seen. I'm no longer an Arab. I'm no longer a monk. I'm no longer, a Nazi. I've been so much. And then I don't know Nazi or not, but I was a German when the war was had broken out, and I was very, very scared for it. But anyways, you're merely concentrating very deeply. There is no danger whatsoever. In these states, you can be inspired, you can touch higher levels of awareness, you can be reawakened to your divine nature. There are pathways to enlightenment. Here is a sense of meditation. Every step you take is sacred. Every breath you breathe is holy. If you understand and practice these precepts, you will be mindful and your consciousness will shift from the everyday to the other perspective. You will become observant, detached, and free from judgment. So again, very beautiful to remember. जब हम meditate करते हैं, every step is sacred. You're breathing in, breathing out, sacred. Every breath you breathe is holy. It's a divine breath. And इसके सहारे हम meditation शुरू करते हैं. And जब meditation शुरू करते हैं, mindful क्यों बोलते हैं? In a way, our mind is full of chatter, chatter, chatter. So when we are full beautifully, और आएगा ही नहीं ना. और क्या फिर heart में आएगा. When the mind is full, then the heart will become full. And that shift is very important. I had been teaching a patient of mine, a business executive, how to meditate. At the beginning of one session, she remarked, "I just saw the most beautiful tree." "Where did you see the tree?" "In front of my house. It has always been there." When we learn to quiet our minds, we see the most beautiful things. Imagine a tree सालों सालों से है, but meditation करिए तो उसको tree की beauty दिख रही है, वो tree दिख रहा है. Why? Because now स्थिर हो गया mind. स्थूल अच्छी सूक्ष्म energies है. स्थूल energies खत्म हो गई. Heavy energy is gone. In my workshops, I teach a simple meditation technique that requires only 2 minutes. During the first minute, I instruct the group members to close their eyes and to take a few deep breaths and relax. For the next 45 seconds, they're told to keep their minds completely quiet, to try not to think. Of course, this is very difficult for most people. Our minds abhor emptiness. Thus, we fill them with ordinary thoughts such as, "My back hurts, I hear that person coughing, I never have enough, I have not eaten enough for breakfast." These are not cosmic inspirations. We do not need these thoughts when we want our minds to be quiet, detached, observing. During the second minute, the group is instructed to imagine themselves sitting at the bottom of a beautiful pond. So you know what I do when people cough or mobile phone rings? ऐसे करने की जगह, which I used to do पहले, I just say thank you, which means there is life around me. And when I say thank you, my body says thank you, and it doesn't resist all that which is coming. Initially, I was like, can't they keep the phones closed? Meditation room में आए और mobile चल रहा है. Can't they stop coughing? Cough आ रही तो कमरे के बाहर जाओ. But why? Acceptance, no? Meditation taught me that. Every time you have a thought, I tell them, put the thought in a bubble. Watch the bubble float up to the surface of the pond and disappear. Then bring your mind back to quiet. If you have another thought, put in another bubble and let the bubble float up and disappear. Keep repeating the process. So ये उन लोग के लिए है जो कि बहुत सारी थॉट्स आते हैं वो खत्म नहीं कर पाते. वो एक बबल मैंने पहले करा हुआ है मॉर्निंग मेडिटेशंस में, द पिंक बबल टेक्निक वी कॉल इट फॉर हीलिंग, एंड द बबल फॉर जस्ट पुटिंग आवर थॉट्स अवे एंड थ्रोइंग. So just imagine a bubble, वो थॉट उसके अंदर चली गई and वो जा रही है then खत्म. And then another thought will come. Keep doing this. There will come a point in time after doing this for a couple of days, the thoughts will become lesser. And when the thoughts will become lesser, they will finish after a while. So don't say कि मुझे तो ये आ रहा है मैं तो कर नहीं पा रही. Accept it. For people who are afraid of water, I tell them to imagine themselves sitting in a beautiful field and use a buoyant helium balloon instead of a bubble. For the next minute, they are using those bubbles and balloons. They have begun to meditate. This is called a bubble meditation. But you can use a word instead, focusing your mind on that word. If your mind wanders, gently or without judgment, bring your attention back to the word. The word you use, that you chose, can be a neutral word, like the number one, or it can be a Sanskrit word, which is called a mantra, or it can be emotionally loaded word, like the word love. Observe what feelings that evoke. You can use a visual object instead. such as a candle or a flower. You can use an ancient technique of focusing your breathing, counting each inhalation and exhalation. You can try the bubble method. You will be surprised by the benefits. I also meditate on something called Tratak. Keep a candle in front of you, like at your third eye level, like on the table, you keep the candle and you keep gazing at the flame. You keep gazing at the flame. You keep gazing. And even that develops concentration. And concentration, in a way, helps you in your meditation many, many ways. So it's very important to look at the candle burning, the flame. And that's also very, very beautiful. So if you want, you can try that meditation. Now, the group exercises. I frequently do an exercise called Faces in my workshop. In a fairly dark room with only enough light to prevent total darkness, I have people sitting in pairs. I lead them into a very relaxed meditative state, and then they gaze gently into the face and features of their partners. This goes on for 5 to 10 minutes. Features appear to change. People see ages, race, and sex shifts. Sometimes animals or other metaphors are seen, which are also spirit guides. People doing this exercise often receive psychic or intuitive information about the other person. Amazing things happen. The results are much more than the actual perceptual distortion. Real information is received. See what happens when you try this. So he's asking you to try. You want, you can try, but it's always better to work with somebody for this. But again, depending on everybody. In Boston, I led a large group of workshop participants to the Faces exercise. A woman from Boston and a woman from Milka Way were partners. They had never met before that moment, seemingly randomly partnered from an audience of 700. They were sitting near the front, so I could see their faces as my eyes grew accustomed to the semi darkness. A few tears were running from the eyes of the Boston woman. After the exercise was over and all the small groups of 2 or 3 had ample time to process the experience and to share their observations and feelings, I asked the woman if she would tell us what she had experienced during the exercise. She agreed. My tears were tears of joy. I saw the face of my brother, and it has been a long time since I've seen him. Her older brother had been a soldier in World War II, and he had been killed in France when he was 19 and a half years old. Her partner then took the microphone. Yesterday, during the large group regression, when you took all of us to our past lives, I had the experience of being a male soldier, 19 and a half years old, killed in France in World War II. She then provided details of that death, and she began to describe her partner's brother accurately. Many people got goosebumps at that moment. Afterwards, I learned from the woman from Milwaukee was born on the same day that soldier was killed in France. There really are no coincidences. How magical. During the Faces exercise I was conducting in New York, an older man from India began weeping with happiness. He had just seen the face of a female Buddha in his partner, a young woman from New England whom he had never met until they had become partners 10 minutes earlier. Female Buddhas are extremely rare, he explained. Then his partner told us that for several years she had been a member of a small Buddhist sect that venerated a female Buddha. I just got goosebumps. These meaningful coincidences can help reorient us along our life path, a path we have chosen even before we were born. That's why I say Sangha energy is important. To be Sangha Mitras in this process of spiritual evolution is so important because you are creating a community. And the way this lady was a part of a Buddhist sect, and then she became that living version of female Buddha, is so magical, and it happens to everybody. So it's very important to have a spiritual group. Very, very, very important. I'm not sure why my workshops in Puerto Rico have always been so magical and filled with mystical experiences. Perhaps enthusiasm, the open mindedness, the spirituality of the participants are responsible. In a packed auditorium at the Condaldo Plaza Hotel in San Juan in March 1998, miracles were happening once again. Before the 2 day workshop had begun, and unbeknownst to me, a middle aged woman who always wore a beautiful butterfly pendant on a thin golden chain around her neck had prayed to her son who had died several months earlier. Give me a sign, a message, the grieving mother had asked. I know it is you if you give me a sign of the butterfly. Just before we began the face exercises, I told the audience some touching stories about butterflies as metaphors for the spirit, as symbols so frequently drawn by children who are dying and or all who know they're going to die, such as the numerous drawings of butterflies by children who died in a concentration camp of the Holocaust, and of actual butterflies hovering over people at funerals. I had not been planning to tell these stories. The thought of talking about butterflies had popped suddenly into my consciousness, and so I had begun to talk about butterflies. The grieving mother smiled broadly. A son had gotten the message to her, but the best was yet to come. In the darkened room, we began the faces exercise. I had instructed the group to choose as partners people they had never met before. The grieving mother's partner, another middle aged woman who did not believe she possessed any psychic abilities, became aware of the spirit of a young man standing behind his mother. Described the young man to the mother. Uh, Give me a minute. I don't know. It's okay. A little overwhelmed. Described the young man to the mother, told her specific details about his life, his personality, his relationships. The mother was shocked, excited, and ecstatic. Everything she said is perfectly accurate. She described him exactly, the mother exclaimed. Her face was now radiant, and I could actually see her breathing change and her shoulders lighten as a huge weight of her grief was gently lifted from her back. As I taught the group this and other methods for opening avenues to their own psychic and intuitive abilities, many more amazing experiences were occurring all over the room. People in a small group on one side of the auditorium began tapping into and sharing the experiences of a distant group on the other side of the room. Incredible coincidences and synchronous events were occurring simultaneously among several groups in several areas of the room. People with no previously recognized mastery of psychic processes were accurately describing the medical histories of complete strangers. People who had never met before that moment knew so much more about each other than they could be possible in a usual state of consciousness. As I watched these incredible interactions, I silently marveled at how our minds are so much more powerful, sensitive, and aware that we think or know we are amazing. Psychics and mediums and gurus can be important to us, but only for a while. They can help us to see and to understand, and that there is so much more to our lives than we are usually aware. As I witnessed once again in Puerto Rico, we are all psychics, mediums, and gurus. And do we believe that is a question? हम हैं साइकिक्स भी हैं मीडियम्स भी गुरुज बट हम क्या विश्वास करते हैं हमें लगता है अरे ये इतने गिफ्टेड है हम तो नहीं है that lack of faith also blocks that memory of being a psychic, of a medium, or a guru. As we learn, we open up and strengthen our own intuitive abilities and we gain wisdom. Psychometry. In this experiential exercise, which I usually conduct in groups of two, the participants exchange small objects belonging to them. The object may be a ring, a watch, a bracelet, keys, lockets, and so on. The item chosen should be one that is touched and handled primarily by its owner. I begin the experience by doing a brief relaxation exercise, which helps the participants to focus and to quiet their minds. With their eyes closed as they remain in a relaxed state, the two people hold their partner's object gently in their hands. The participants are instructed to become aware of any thoughts, feelings, impressions, or sensations that come into awareness. The impressions may be psychological, feelings, moods, or emotions, physical, bodily sensations, psychic visions, messages, thoughts, childhood or past life scenes, or spiritual messages or images from other dimensions. After about 5 minutes have elapsed, I instruct the group to share every aspect of the experience with their partner. It is very important to share every sensation, thought, impression, even if it seems silly or weird, because these are often the most accurate and powerful hits. Frequently, the validation of these strange impressions is immediate and most meaningful. Whether it is the energy of the object being held that facilitates the intuitive transfer of information or the relaxed focusing of the mind, the net result is an awakening and a validation of the intuitive ability we all possess. The exercise is safe, simple, instructive, and a lot of fun. Now we'll move on to another form of a practice which Dr. Wise follows, which is energy scanning. This is something you all can also do. Whatever impression or sensation emerges in your awareness is valid. In this exercise, let your imagination run free. This is all for learning and growth. Before working in groups of two, the participants practice becoming aware of their own energy fields. तो एनर्जी प्रैक्टिस करने के लिए ये बहुत अच्छा एग्जाम्पल है. अपने हाथ को पास लाओ और हल्का कर दूर करो, and you'll feel that energy here, that energy ball. And when you actually meditate, you can feel that there's energy around us and you'll be able to tap into energy. With their eyes gently closed and relaxed state, they are instructed to bring their hands together slowly, palms facing each other, beginning with their hands about 2 feet apart. As they draw their hands together, people often become aware of tingling in their palms, of increasing heat or thermal exchanges, and of subtle resistance like some sort of malleable barrier felt before the hands actually touch. This beginning exercise is repeated several times. In groups of two, the receiver slowly scans the body of his or partner who stands or sits quietly during the exercise. Scanning is done by the hands at a distance of several inches or more from the body of the other person. The scanner does not actually touch the partner. The entire body should be scanned from all sides, and the scanner should become aware of any temperature change, such as areas of heat or cold. Any thoughts, sensations, or impressions are noted and remembered. Any variations in the energy field should also be acknowledged. After several minutes, the roles are reversed. The scanner becomes the quiet subject, and the former subject becomes the scanner or receiver. After repeating the process, the partners then spend several minutes sharing the entire experience with all of their observations. Often stunningly accurate medical diagnoses are made during the exercise. Confidential information can be somehow transferred to the scanner. Our intuitive minds once again can be activated during this brief experiential exercise. So I don't know how many of you knew, but जो पुराने वैद होते थे, like I've heard this from my grandparents, like even when they were children, they would just come and do a energy scan. अरे यहाँ पर ठंडक है, यहाँ ये तासीर है, यहाँ इसमें बीमारी है. The limb that they would say इसमें दर्द है क्या, यहाँ रुकावट, and then they would also clean it. Jhada jo dete hai na, if people know about it, they would clean the dark energies and blockages and the flow in the body. So India is a hub for these beautiful practices. But these can be done by us also. And it's beautiful. Like I remember when I was doing pranic healing, level 1, in that this lady, like we were supposed to do some aura and something. She was supposed to do something. And I think she did this. And I was 10 feet or 7 feet from her. And I'm like, why are you pushing me so hard? And then I looked back, there was nobody. And then my healer said, you know what? You're a psychic, you're a healer. You feel energies because your aura is so wide and big. So imagine the push came from 7 feet. Usne aise kiya, dur aur mujhe yahan push hua. This is the energy. This is the energy fields that we have. And we can feel them when we start practicing. Brief visualization exercises. Hypnosis is merely focused concentration. There's nothing mysterious or sinister about it. Close your eyes and imagine that you're biting into a big, juicy lemon. Use all of your senses, taste the lemon, smell it, see it, bite more deeply. People often make a lemon face with puckered lips when I ask them to do this. They're tasting lemons. I didn't stick a lemon in their mouth. They were tasting, they're tapping their memory banks. If you tasted lemon, you were just hypnotized. Extend your arms straight out in front of you with your palms up. Do not bend your arms at the elbows. After you close your eyes, imagine that I am placing a big heavy book into your left hand, and now a second heavy book into your left hand. And then imagine I'm tying a big buoyant helium balloon to your right hand. A third heavy book now goes into your left hand. Then a second helium balloon is tied on your right hand. Keep your arms exactly where they are now and open your eyes. The body, as well as the mind, is involved in a hypnotic process. Over the past 200 years or so, with the emergence and spread of the age of enlightenment, people have overemphasized the role of logic and science in human relationships, culture, health, and philosophy. We have developed the notion that science will be able to cure all of our ills and problems. In fact, we have become unbalanced because of this thinking. We have neglected intuitive wisdom, the heart, the creative, and impaired impulse. We have glorified technology, but our ethics, our morality, and our spiritual growth have not advanced at the same pace. We now find ourselves in the position where our technology has advanced enough to destroy the planet, and people who are not wise or enlightened had their fingers at the button. Technology and science are neutral. It is what people do with them, how they are applied, and the circumstances under which they are used that determines their value. We have learned that science cannot cure all the ills of humankind. Only wise, loving, compassionate, and responsible leaders can accomplish that goal. So the pendulum must swing back, not all the way back to superstition and fear, but back to the midpoint. But the place of harmony and balance, back to the position where science and intuition were perfectly balanced, blended, where heart and mind are one, working harmoniously to bring us peace and health. It is important to know how intuition works. Even before I had witnessed him giving healing blessings messages to the woman with the rose garden and her husband's ring, I had the opportunity to observe James Van Prague at a workshop in New Orleans. He provided accurate details about deceased loved ones to their surviving families and friends. 400 people crowded the room. James could get an image of a message, convey that message to the loved group, and with another detail or two, someone would stand confirming the accuracy of the message. I was sitting in the back, quietly trying to do what James was doing. I was trying to anticipate his questions, comments, messages, but my accuracy was minimal. Was he somehow leading them? Was he being general enough so that somebody in such a large group was bound to fit his comments? Was he exceptionally adept at reading body language? He was getting this information, this knowledge from somewhere other than the audience, and he was helping people heal their grief. Oh, well, I thought, there are a few talented people in the world who could somehow tap into this stuff. I certainly wasn't one of them. 2 weeks later, I was conducting an experiential workshop on spirituality and past life regression therapy to an audience of 700 in West Palm Beach, Florida. In response to a question from someone in the audience, I tried to explain how a medium works by formulating an example. It works like this, I said, beginning to imagine a scene. The medium might say, I'm aware of a young man named Robert. He's 19 or 20 years old. He died in a car accident. He wants you to know that he's fine, he's well, that he loves you very much, and that you shouldn't grieve him so much. He's well and he's still hanging around you. And he wanted you to give the black leather jacket that was hanging in his closet to Gary. I had made up the whole scene. Then I moved on to talk about other topic, unbeknownst to me. Carol, sitting in the back of the room, thought, I hope he heard James Van Prague tell that story because it has something to do with someone in the audience. After the workshop ended, I was signing some books when two women, one misty-eyed, came up to me. Where did you get that story about Robert in the car accident? The tearful one softly inquired. I told her that I made up the whole thing. No, you didn't. She answered firmly. My brother Robert was killed in a car accident. He was 20 years old. We have missed him so much. I just gave his black leather jacket, which had been hanging in his closet, to our younger brother Gary. I felt he wanted me to do this. We are spiritual beings within these human forms. The spiritual part of us never dies. We never really lose our loved ones. Thus, we can all do is what I did because we all are connected. In meditative states and in dreams, I continue to experience vivid metaphorical images and to intuit thought provoking insights. I frequently receive answers to questions or dilemmas that are like pearls forming in oysters and irritating the depths of my subconscious mind. In one such powerful but seemingly simplistic image, I saw how people view themselves as separate entities, and yet in reality, we all are eternally connected to each other. I glimpsed a vast sea filled with ice cubes. Each ice cube was distinct, with fixed and definite boundaries, yet all floated in the same freezing water. Soon the water warmed and the ice cubes melted. Everything was a water. Every ice cube was connected to every other ice cube in the sea. Then the heat increased and the water began to boil, transforming into steam. Soon all was steam, silent and invisible. Yet the steam contained what was once the water and the ice cubes. The only differences between the states of ice, water, steam was the vibrational energy of the molecules. Humankind thinks of itself as physically separate, like the ice cubes. In reality, however, we are all the same interconnected substance. Now, isn't this therapeutic to know that we are all same? It's so beautiful. You can have past life experiences through means and other than hypnosis. My first two past life journeys occurred through body work and in a dream. My first experience happened spontaneously during a shiatsu or acupressure treatment. In this vivid visual tableau, I saw myself as an ancient priest, taller and thinner than I am now. I was standing in an oddly shaped geometric building, flat on the top with sloping sides. I kept hearing the word ziggurat in my mind, but at that time I did not know what that meant. The priest had a great deal of power, but instead of using his position to teach spiritual truths, he was instead focused on obtaining even more power and wealth. As I wistfully looked into this future, I could see that his values never shifted to the spiritual, even though priests were free to teach spiritual truths as long as the needs of the royalty were also met. I gradually returned to full waking consciousness. At home later that day, I looked up the word ziggurat, and it was an encyclopedia. In the Babylonian period of history, a millennium before Christ, temples of that same geometric shape I had seen in my vision were called ziggurats. सो पास्ट लाइफ डज नॉट मीन कि आपको रिग्रेशन में ही जाना पड़ता है कभी भी कुछ भी आ सकता है बट डू यू ट्रस्ट द प्रोसेस कि जो आपने देखा वो आपकी एक लाइफ थी यू कैन बी अ मेल यू कैन बी अ फीमेल यू कैन बी अ चाइल्ड यू कैन बी वेरी ग्रोन अप यू कैन बी अ टीनेजर एनीथिंग A few years later, I had a second past life experience, this time in a dream. It occurred on the second night of a 5-day training for professionals that I was teaching. All the participants were staying in the same hotel, and the intensity of the sessions was exhausting. In the dream, which was one of those vivid dreams where you remember every detail, I was again a priest, this time a Catholic priest somewhere in Europe. Several centuries ago, I was in a dungeon. One of my arms was chained to the wall in the back of me. I was being tortured and then killed for teaching heretical, forbidden things. I awakened, but in a hypnagogic state, and the dream continued for a while. I could still see and feel the images as I lay on the bed in a completely darkened room. Then I became aware of an inner voice or message. When you had the chance to teach the truth, you did not. I knew the reference was to the Babylonian priest who did not teach spiritual truths. When you did not have the chance, you did. You forced the issue. I knew the Catholic priest could have safely taught about love and compassion. He did not need to get himself killed while challenging the harsh authorities of that time. This time, get it right, the voice gently concluded. I could not fall back to sleep. Finally, I went down to breakfast. One of the students taking the course was a well-known professor of psychiatry at a distinguished university. You look terrible, she observed, as she stood next to me. I know, I didn't sleep well last night. I know that. I looked into your dream. I didn't believe that was possible, and sensing my skepticism, she elaborated. My family has had mediumistic abilities on my mother's side for many generations. I also have these abilities. I was intrigued now, so I asked her what she had seen. I saw you as a Catholic priest in Scotland centuries ago. You were imprisoned. Your right arm was chained to the wall behind you, and you were tortured and killed for teaching about reincarnation. She was specific that I had been. There was more. You have to be careful. Some of the people are back again now, she added. So I keep my eyes open. So beautiful. With this, today we conclude our reading session. Tomorrow is chapter number 15, which is absolutely magical and beautiful. And this chapter is about a very important topic or a common topic called God and religion. And it'll kind of open us to many things. What is God? What is religion? And we'll understand. All right, everybody. So I am guided to tell you all that the morning when we're ending the sessions, I'm guided to say that all of you, the session does not end when the session ends on Zoom. Your session with yourself starts then. So I'm only guided to initiate you in that stage and you to listen to what's coming, you to observe what's coming, you to feel and know the revelations that are coming. So please, I have a request. It will take you time. हो सकता है शुरू में 5-7-8 दिन आपको लगे कि अरे क्या करना है. But use these morning 20 minutes if possible to kind of continue. And if some of you have commitments, then you can rewind and replay the session, the last bit, when you're comfortable. But please do the inner work because only I can walk my path and you can walk your path. We are all channels there, right? Apni life hame banani hai, right? So I'm going to start you with the meditation and gradually I'm going to just switch off the session. You keep continuing. All right. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath in, holding it, and a deeper breath out very gently. There's no hurry. Breathing right is getting it right. Again, holding as you exhale, breathing in, holding, and gently exhaling and holding. Do this at least 5 more times with your own space. Don't follow my words. Whatever you're comfortable with. You want the count of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever. Per breath should be the same count. Practice it. Continue breathing even if you finish the count. It doesn't matter. Because everybody has their own speed. Just check your backs. If they're not straight, just kind of straighten them. Hands, if possible, comfortably resting on your laps, facing heavenwards, because now you're preparing your body to receive. Breath work is an artwork. Paint the canvas in your beautiful body by letting the deeper breath release the oxygen levels in the entire cellular system. Whichever area has not received the oxygen, when you deep breathe, then it goes in those parts as well. So breathing is very important. Conscious breathing is even more important. We're all beautiful, evolved souls who have taken birth in this life in whichever role we are playing. A most important part of our living is breathing, is connecting with us, The most important relationship in this world of love is love thyself, is loving myself. Discover, who am I? Not the materialistic not your beautiful knowledge of Vedas or Shastras or any materialistic stuff. Who am I? I is not I the person, I is a soul. I, the ego, is a very small, minuscule I, which is unseen. But I, the higher self, is divine I. It's God's own I. Not I, me, and am the ego I. What are your eyes seeing? Your physical eyes when they're closed. What can you say in words? I, the person, or I, the soul? Is your monkey mind still bothering you and coming up with visuals? If they are, enjoy the visuals, but just don't concentrate on them. Don't get deluded. Whenever you see visual something, go back to your breath and get aligned. And otherwise, you can always say thank you. And in your own beautiful spiritual eye, do a Atma Namaste, because that object which came to you as a vision is also a soul. Whether it's an object, it's also a soul. We already know by now that rocks and minerals, plants and animals, they are all kingdoms and they're all souls. We have been through each one of them. So if any image comes, just bow to the highest in them and just move back to your breathing. Start being aligned with your breathing. And whatever is coming, allow it to come. And when you think the frequency or whatever has to come is less, you can always ask your soul for an answer. Love. Let the love spread. When you allow the love to spread, then you get. So loving oneself is not as easy, but loving others is much easier. So do what is easier. And when you start loving others, when you start giving, you'll start getting. When you get love, your heart will be so full that you will start to love to respect yourself. And when that happens, all physical ailments will just leave, because your body, heart, mind, and soul will come in alignment. Your chakras will get balanced. Your energy will start rising. It is already happening, whether you can see or whether you can't. It's already happening. So ask your question, and without expectation, just let the question be echoed in the universe. Now, whichever divine energy has to bring you the answer, wait for it. If it happens, beautiful. If it doesn't, throughout the day, you will get some sign synchronicities. If you want to develop your muscle, you may pose a question and say that when the answer comes, to validate that, I need to see this thing. And that will help you develop your muscle. And tomorrow in the session, maybe you can share about it. So keep reflecting, ask a question. The question could be anything, and wait for that answer. Be blessed. Keep going inward. This is our inward journey.